Welcome to Super Woo Radio, where we are awakening into being free and sovereign. It's a place where minds hurt and hearts sing as we break through the barriers that have been holding us back. So be prepared to have belief systems confronted as we take the journey of the truth seeker and explore the answers to the biggest questions. Remember, truth is stranger than fiction. So come along for an awareness-expanding experience with George and Jason.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Super Woo Radio. You are here with George and Jason, and we do not just talk normal woo. This is where we're going to talk super woo. So over to Jason. Are you there, mate?
I am, George. How are you, buddy?
Going really good. Yeah, yourself?
Yeah, no, fantastic, and so excited to be here with you on this podcast. I never thought I'd do it, but here I am.
Mate, I had no idea I'd be doing anything like this just not long ago at all. It's just a bit of an idea that came along. We said, yeah, let's give it a go, so why not? Yeah,
it's a great opportunity to allow you to speak as long as you like without interruptions and share all that wisdom that you've remembered over the past few years of your life. It's just incredible and so exciting to get it out there amongst the people.
It is a good platform to work from. I mean, it is, because we do get to speak for as long as we like. And some of these radio programs I've been interviewed on are just fantastic because that's their ethos, is not to have those commercials, but you know, some of them, because of the way they function, it's just, to keep themselves viable, they need those commercials. And unfortunately, I'd be getting into the groove and speaking, and the energy's flowing nicely, and the subject matter is really being, I would say, addressed in a very deep and meaningful way. And then all of a sudden, you've got to break and go to an ad, and that was quite frustrating at times. But, it's just part of the way they're structured and the way they're set up. That's cool. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so today, instead of jumping into amazing Super Woo stories, we thought it'd be better to give a bit of an introduction about who we are, what Super Woo Radio is about, and just some general background about all things George Kavaslis, Jason Borden-Smith, and Super Woo Radio.
That is an introductory episode. That's what we wanted to do. And we are going to share a bit more about who we are and a bit more of our lives. And so you just get an understanding that we're just everyday real people. And Jason, you also said to me, George, I'm going to give you a bit of a grilling, mate. There's some tough questions I need to ask you. Is that right? You still going to do that?
Of course I'm going to do that. I think that's the highlight of the program. It's all about being accountable, and a few things you've said haven't gone to pass, and I think it's time to ask those hard questions.
Yeah, all right. I always take responsibility for the things I say, but anyway, we'll see what happens.
A lot of new things I can see, George. You've got a new website with a new domain name. You want to tell us a little bit about that? ourjourneyhome.com.au.
Yeah, we do. We decided that the old domain name was too fragmented, and we needed to have a little bit more, cohesion in the domain name. And so we've gone for ourjourneyhome.com.au, and there is another website called ourjourneyhome.com, but don't forget ours is .au on the end. So it's exciting because it feels better, it's smoother, it flows, and it just feels better. And the change of the website is a reflection on changes that we've all gone through as well on personal levels. When you mentioned before it's the wildest ride in the fun park, it most certainly has been a crazy, crazy ride. And the challenges on personal levels for all of us, everybody who's involved in this, has been just enormous, absolutely enormous.
Yeah, and I think everyone who's had a chance to look at the new website have obviously logged on to this podcast because they have to join to listen. Anything on the new website you want to go through specifically? Of course, the big announcement is the book, and that's what you've been doing for the past 9 months, George, pretty much full time.
Yeah, I never wanted to write a book. I'm not a reader of books. I've probably read 10 books in my whole life, and that includes a couple of books in high school. So I'm just not a reader. and the prospect of me writing a book was just ridiculous as far as I was concerned. And there was a bit of pressure from yourself and from Cynthia and others around me, and just people writing in emails. Why don't you write a book? Why don't you write a book? And I thought, well, I just don't want to write a book. I'm not feeling it. And we had this incredible journey around the planet, and we did speaking engagements and spoke to some incredible people. And when we got back from that, all of a sudden, I just got this feeling after about, a couple of weeks rest here at home. I just felt it. I actually truly feel from deep within that it's time for me to write a book. Where prior to that, there was no such feeling. It was blank. There was nothing there. So it's amazing. It's almost a case of never say never. But wow, what a challenging process that has been, to take the biggest concepts and to put them into words. Absolutely amazing. And not just any words. I mean, this is to try to get the biggest concepts life has and to put them in the most simplistic terms that anyone can understand. That was the challenge. And I feel I've gone a really good way in accomplishing that. I think Cynthia and I have put together a book, my co-author, my beloved Cynthia, who helped me a great deal. We have put together this book that is so potent. The content is really going to challenge a lot of people, and for some people they're going to be challenged far more than others, and there's going to be a lot of people who feel quite liberated once they've read this book as well. So it's fantastic. The book is called Our Universal Journey, and it really is all about our universal journey. And very, very, very happy. It's quite an accomplishment, even if I do say so myself. But we talked it up a little bit, but you'll see when someone reads the book, they'll understand. It's been one of the most challenging 8 months of my life. It really has, for all concerned. It was so challenging, simply mainly because of the content. And there's a lot of beings out there who don't want this information out. So you can imagine the interdimensional interference that mostly Cynthia and I and yourself have had, and others have had to contend with through this whole process of creating this book. It's still going on today. It continues.
Just getting this program recorded has been challenging enough. The interference is unexplainable to most, but it is available. Those who have had a chance to read it are all blown away, me included. It's got some amazing new information. It's not just a recap of the 2011 tour, the grand cosmic deception. No, it's not it. The supreme cosmic deception. Should correct me there, George. It's just incredible. And the chakra system and the kundalini and all the workings in relation to this synthetic universe is just out of this world. We may talk about that a little bit later on, but I think we need to move on to Super Woo Radio. Why are we bothering doing this?
Super Woo Radio. Why did we call it Super Woo Radio to begin with? I mean, the name actually comes from our friends saying to us, "Oh, you guys just talk all that woo-woo stuff, all that weird woo-woo stuff. You're talking woo again." Comments like that would come out all the time. "Oh, they're into that woo-woo." And, the persecution, the ridicule that comes along with it. And they do it in jest. And we thought, well, we don't talk woo. We're not just talking your normal everyday woo. We're not just talking ghosts and angels and stuff like that. We're talking super woo. And so that's pretty much where it came from.
It's true. How I see it is, woo is like coincidence, chance, and just the normal everyday. That's a bit unusual. Then you've got woo-woo, which is like ETs and aliens and spaceships and UFOs. And then you've got super woo. And some of the things we've got in store for this radio program are really going to challenge people. It's going to confront them. And, hey, it freaked me out. And I've been through it. And I'm still going through it. and we can share some of those exciting things later on.
Well, it's a journey, isn't it? And most people think that they'll read something and just by reading it or taking a pill or doing something like that, it happens in an instant automatically, but it's not like that. Life is not like that. When you learn and you learn good and you learn properly, you live through it, and it's a completely different process. It's very, very involved, and it asks all of you because you have to change from within. So this is the kind of level we're talking about. So yeah, I'll just to add to that, the mindsets will be challenged on this radio program. Absolutely, they will. We have been challenged ourselves constantly. We're still being challenged every day, and we're learning and growing constantly. And we feel it's very, very important to share these experiences that we're all having, and the knowledge and wisdom that we are obtaining from these experiences, because we know that a lot of this information is not out there, and some of it is, and some of it is presented in a way that's so complicated. So here's you and I, really, that you probably already noticed, we're just a couple of guys having a bit of a chat. So it's kind of like you labelled it pub philosophy, whereas a couple of guys down the pub having a bit of a beer and a talk about life, and that's our approach, really. So hence the mature audience request. You got to be over 15 to be able to listen to our kind of dialogue and get a handle on it and deal with it. And it's important that people understand that we're just a couple of guys who just want to keep it real, keep it raw, and that's our philosophy, really, of Super Woo Radio.
It is. It's all about self-empowerment. Now, some of the things that we'll talk about are downright scary. It can really freak people out. You know, I went into my own kind of 3 days of darkness, is the common term, and it was hard. It was tough to process some of those beliefs and strong opinions about certain things that you've learned and acclimatized to, and to break them and to let go is a lot harder than you think. And there's always something else. As soon as you think you've got it worked out, along comes something else, and you've got to revisit everything. And you just got to have an open mind, go within your heart, get out of your head, and just let it be okay. And you'll find that you'll come good. It may take a little while, but you will come good. And once you rediscover the truth of how magnificent and wonderful you are, you're invincible. You are totally invincible. You know, some people say, Jason, you're crazy going on this show with George. He is the most controversial character out there. He's got all these people to listen to him. You know, someone's going to find out, they're going to listen to you in your corporate world, and they're going to call you a crazy madman. And if they want to do that, they can. This is not crazy. This is talking about life. And to go deep within yourself and challenge yourself and search for the real answers takes a fair bit of balls, right? You need intestinal fortitude to do it. You're just not going to sit there and cop crap from people because you want to fit in to their little paradigm and their mindset. I'm just not interested in that. I want to know what the hell's going on. And I can tell you, it's not what we've been taught at school or uni or even from our parents or religious leaders, etc., etc. It is much deeper, much bigger. And George, your message, or the message you present, is so simple, but so difficult. You are the walking, talking paradox. You've been searching for that title.
Good on you.
And I am calling you the walking, talking paradox. But everything fits.
That's what annoys the critics, because it's so simple and it works and it's so authentic. It comes down to authenticity within oneself. And once you strip all the programs away, I mean, when you look out there at all the different programs that are going on out there, there's a lot of people out there talking about, you know, their contacts with other beings and the information that these other beings present through these people to humanity. And it is so complicated, so heady, and only special people once you get through all the practices and rituals and meditative practices and what have you, and it's all sorts of demands and requests. It's unbelievable. And this is just about keeping it real, just coming from your own heart, your own essence, your own authenticity. That's all you got to do. But the problem is, it's so simple, people don't get it.
I know. Well, the other good news, folks, is that you won't just listen to me and George talk pub philosophy all day. We have some guests that we'll be inviting on. My idea, and I think George is in agreement, we'd like to interview the interviewers. So if we could get like Mel from Veritas and Henrik from Red Eyes, maybe even Kerry Cassidy from Project Camelot, Vinnie Eastwood from over the Tasman there in New Zealand, and any other guests, Santos, the list goes on and on and on. That's what I'd like to do, because these guys have been interviewing so many people for so many years that they've got to have incredible wisdom and knowledge to share. And I think that would be a good take on things, and especially that I'm sure they're all going to ask you to get on their shows, George, because I think at least 5 or 6 of the programs you did in 2011 hit the record for the number of downloads after you spoke, which is just an incredible response. Yeah,
though there was many that had the highest listening audience for the year on the shows that I appeared on, and for others it's the highest amount of downloads in the archives. And it's you call me the walking talking paradox, and I remember you made a comment once that I'm the most. What was the comment that you made?
Well, I don't want to be too vulgar, but you're like the most listened to person in the whole world that no one will ever want to admit to.
To listening to.
Yeah. And just don't want to admit they've ever listened to you, but they're all listening. It's kind of like, teenage boys, watching those sites on the web, on the World Wide Web. That they're
you could have used a better analogy than that. Oh, thanks.
Yeah, you're so popular, but no one wants to admit to it. Or talk about it with anyone, except for on the forum that I think it was JP who started, Final Equinox Forum. And I'd like to bring this in now because it's an amazing group of people that have got together independent of you, George. Is that right? This forum? Yeah.
Yeah, even though we have a link on the website to go to this forum, it is an independent forum. We just want to make that clear.
And that's unique. Like, I think the other people on the circuit had their own forums, but you actually don't want to participate in any promotion or marketing at all, yet you want to spread this message across the globe. And this is part of the paradox thing I talk about, is you don't want any fans, you don't want any followers, you just want everyone just to go and listen to the message and not really think about you at all. And I know this is one of your bugbears, but it's true. You literally have maxed out your Facebook page in a couple of months, the personal page. I don't think you've ever been on Facebook, have you, George?
No, I've never been on it. I don't even know how to log on.
So you've never been on it?
No.
It was set up by some friends. You've got a like page, which I think last time I looked was about 3,600 people. You've never put a post on it. Yeah. So there are thousands and thousands of people listening to the message, George. And as much as you try and separate yourself from it, and I think that's a really, really great thing you do, it's coming out of your mouth, mate.
I know it's coming out of my mouth. Oh, look, I know that. Yeah, I wrote the book. But like I said, the knowledge is inside everybody. So I'm just helping people to remember and reawaken. That's all. Snap out of that trance, which is not just earthly, it's cosmic as well. So that's all I'm doing. So it's not about me. It's people need to make the message the main point of focus. Some people will want to make it about me because they'll be on a witch hunt, and it's good old technique of character assassination. So that's classic. That's classic tactics. That is. I mean, it's as old as the hills. So yeah, I'm expecting that. I mean, it's already happening. You see it in some of the comments that were brought to my attention recently on the forum itself and in other places. Yeah, do you want to elaborate on that, Jay?
Well, there is a post called Shouldn't George Be Updating Us on Events and Developments? So we have a lot of people, George, who have taken your message to heart, and we're going to have a grill session in a little while, and I don't want to start it now because we're going to get into the separate rings of the boxing match, take our gloves off and start swinging, because there's a few things you've said that haven't come true, and I think we've got to see you be accountable for some of those.
Yeah, and people better realise that this isn't going to be an easy session. Like, Jason's going to go hard, where I've always said that we're realists, and, there's some hard questions about Jason that I've got too, so we're not going to go easy on each other. And we are good mates. We're not here. I'm not here just to punch each other up. We're actually good friends, and we've got much more in common than we ever realised when we go to restaurants. We don't even look at each other, and we order the same food, like entree, main, the lot, every time. It's ridiculous. But anyway, let's get back to Super Woo Radio. Where is it occurring? Well, I can tell you now, I'm sitting in the belly of the beast here in Sydney in a corporate office on Skype. And George, where are you sitting? I'm sitting in the southern Flinders Ranges of South Australia, and not far from where some people consider to be the cradle of life on this planet, and which I tend to agree with.
Yeah, we have to do a show on the Igawada and just the documentary, which we might update people in a minute. So when will Super Woo Radio occur, George?
Super Woo Radio is a podcast and will be broadcast pretty much whenever it gets broadcast. It's we're not going to be tied down to a weekly program, and we are going to flow, ebb and flow with our river of life and your river of life and our unified rivers of life, and so it's all going to be about ebbing and flowing and living in the now, and that's how it is. That's what it means to just flow. So we're not going to have a regular weekly or fortnightly or whatever broadcast. It's going to be broadcast whenever it gets broadcast, whenever we feel it's appropriate to do another show. So we will be notifying people through the newsletter. So you're welcome to get onto ourjourneyhome.com.au and subscribe to the newsletter.
Well, they don't even have to do that, George, because they've already logged into Super Woo Radio, and automatically they are put on that newsletter.
Yeah.
Because I know most people are very keen to find out when the next edition's going to go ahead, the next program. So they'll get that automatically, and we'll make sure that those who are members of both the newsletter and Super Woo Radio are not receiving 2 emails. We'll make sure that list is cold, so you only get 1 email, so we don't drive you mad. And of course, if you don't want to listen anymore, that's fine by us. You just unsubscribe and go on your own way, because there's some things that people are going to get upset with during this program. As we said, it's not for the faint-hearted. And if you don't resonate with what we're talking about or think we're just raving on, that's fine by me, and I'm sure it's fine by George. And you just unsubscribe and you won't hear from us again.
Yeah, well, the whole philosophy of message I'm sharing is it provides a perspective for people out there, and it's up to them what they do with it. So if they want to take it on, it's up to them. If they want to just walk away from it and get on with their journey in life, it's up to them. It's all about unconditional love. And that's the same. If people want to listen to us, it's wonderful. If they don't, that's just as wonderful.
Yeah, and there's those who listen to this program and listen to George's interviews, his videos, read his book, etc., and you've got 1,001 questions. Now, the problem that George has, and he can elaborate a little bit more, I'm not sure how many emails you get, but now you're going back on the circuit, and we can talk about some new initiatives you're doing on interviews at the end of the program. But you will get hundreds of emails. Now you're back on the circuit again, George, and you just can't have the time to read them, let alone answer them all. Is that correct?
Well, it's just not physically possible, and some people get quite upset because I don't answer the emails, and then that's going into the territory of me, and on their side of things, and they've got to realise it's not just about them, and we're just normal people, and we have lives, and we've still got to wash our clothes and hang them out to dry, and cook meals to eat, and we're not going to be slaves to everybody else's inquiries, and that's just. We're keeping it real. So if your email does not get answered, it's not because we don't like you, or you're not worthy, or silly thought processes that people do go through, and emotional reactions that they have because their email doesn't get answered. I mean, they've just got to realise that the practicality of it is that there's just the volume is incredible, and we just don't have the capacity to deal with it all.
Yeah, I think everyone can appreciate that. So what I recommend people doing is go to finalequinox.com. This is the forum set up by people who are like-minded and want to talk about George's message, and they have some opinions of their own and other teachings they discuss. You can go on there. You don't have to pay a cent. It's totally free. finalequinox.com. Search for the topic that you're interested in. You'll find that it's probably already discussed, and if you can't find it, start a new thread, and the wonderful people on that forum will help you out. They'll help you answer those questions. They're very welcoming. They will offer suggestions and ideas that they've gone through, personal experiences, and I can't speak more highly of this forum. It's wonderful. But it also has a few other issues going on, George, that we're going to talk a little bit about now. And these are people who are just desperate to hear from you. You've been off the circuit for nearly 6 months. I think the UFO conference in Sydney was your last kind of appearance, and that video has been put up on your website, and it's free of charge, and they can listen to it. So you've been busy writing your book, and a lot of things have been happening, maybe not spilling into the public arena yet, but people on that forum are well read in the alternative area, and a lot of people are coming out and saying things about the financial system crashing, and the New Ages are talking about the coming of the GFL and a whole host of other things that are going on, and they're expecting you to comment on everything. And I know that's not your your intention, George. And I'd like I'll
just start out with that's just ridiculous to begin with, and I'm sharing what I can share. And there is a level of immaturity which is going on in some people, and I'm not making these comments from an elitist point of view. It's just people that somehow feel that I owe them, and that they, I would say, see me as a crutch, who see me and the message that I share as something that they have become almost addicted to, and that is the exact opposite to the philosophy, to my ethos and my principles and my philosophies. So anybody who's making comments or writing comments in the way of where's George, why, and some other comments were brought to my attention. Anyone who's making those sorts of comments at all, anyone who's written a comment in that vein, they need to really just take a good look at themselves, because obviously they're not listening to what I'm saying, and I'm not beholden to them. I'm not beholden to anybody.
Yeah. Okay. Before we get to the grill session, where we're going to start asking some hard questions, I'm feeling that people would like to know a little bit more about yourself and maybe how we met and a little bit about our journey together. So, George, as much as you don't like talking about yourself, I was wondering if you could share with the listeners, where you were born, where you grew up, maybe your first job, and then you got married, had 2 sons. So let's start off with the beginning. You were a Sydney boy, right?
Yeah, Sydney boy. I was born in the Mater Hospital in Sydney, North Sydney, and went to Waverton Primary School. And then it was after that that we moved to, while I was there, we actually moved to Germany for 3 years when I was about 1.5, and came back when I was about 5, and we lived in Gießen, just outside of Frankfurt there. And boy, that was cold. We experienced some cold temperatures there. I remember being outside and just crying because it was minus 25 degrees Celsius. Now that's cold. And I was just crying because it was so cold. It hurt so much. Mind you, we had a -6 here the other day. That was pretty cold. It was an interesting time. My father was posted to Germany for a little while. He was one of the leading computer engineers of that era in the early 70s, and was quite sought after. So he worked for NCR, and we were. He had to do a lot of travelling. We moved about a little bit, but it was mainly to Germany. And after that, we moved to East Ryde. I went to East Ryde Primary School in Sydney, in the northwestern suburbs, and it's actually called the North Shore. And then I went to a Catholic boys' high school, Patrician Brothers High School, Holy Cross College, Ryde.
You didn't get expelled.
Went close. Yeah, religion was it was interesting. Well, I remember there was a few of us there that weren't Catholic, and religion was mandatory. It wasn't an elective subject. It was a mandatory subject. And I remember one of the brothers, because it had brothers that, like monks who were boarding at the school, and they made up half the teachers, and the rest of the staff were people from outside the monks or the brothers. And I remember walking in, and we're all sitting there. It was a big class, about 44 students, and the brother walks in and says, "Stand up, anybody who's not Catholic." And me and my friend Con, we're both Greek Orthodox, and we stood up, and there was a few other kids, about 8 of us all together. And he looked around. He said, "Oh well, nobody's perfect, so you can sit down again now. Not everybody's perfect." That was the comment. Not everybody's perfect. You can sit down again now. And we just looked at each other in disbelief. And that was welcome to a Catholic boys' high school in Sydney in the 70s.
Yeah, I had the same experience. I went to a Catholic school as well. But we'll leave religion alone for today. But I say today, your first job was with a computer company, electronics, was it?
My first job that I had was, I studied electronics engineering at TAFE College in Sydney, and I went to, I had a job as a hardware engineer in a repair centre where we were fixing boards. Back then, when we used to desolder chips and diodes and capacitors and resistors and replace them, we used to find the faults on the boards. That was back then, before things became disposable. So it was an interesting time. It was fun. And then I moved to Canberra. I transferred. Our company got bought out, and I transferred to Canberra, and I worked there for a while. And with Unisys, they're the company that bought out our company. And I really enjoyed it because I'd been travelling to the snowies of New South Wales because I had a friend who lived there for all my youth. And we used to go fishing and camping and motorbike riding, and really enjoyed the outdoors. And so it was a good excuse to get down there. And Canberra's not far from the snowies, and it was really quite good. So we had a good lifestyle there. And then I ended up moving to Adelaide because I came over here and met a lady over here who then became my wife. I had 2 children, and during that marriage I got ill and with chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia, and it was, I would say that's when the dark night of the soul really began for me, and ended up losing my wealth, my health, my wealth, my family, everything, and I'm then on a disability pension for probably about 11 years, I would say, after that.
Yeah, and when you say you were sick, you were really sick. You were bedridden for many years, weren't you?
Yeah, it was pretty bad. There were days I could function just. There were days where I would be screaming in pain as I crawled on my hands and knees to get to the bathroom. Wow. There were times when I couldn't move. I was on the chair, on the lounge, and all of a sudden I was just couldn't move. I didn't have the strength to actually move, and I'd be lying there for 16 hours, and I just couldn't move. It was really weird, and I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia, and people just don't understand how debilitating these things are. I got judged so much, and persecuted and ridiculed so much by so-called friends and family. It was unbelievable how people just turn on you. You really find out who your friends are through these sorts of experiences. Yeah, and at the same time, I was still getting abducted and tortured through all that as well. So, and having some good experiences too. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't have first-hand experience, but my mother had the same illness, had the same issues about abductions as well, and she was so sick for so many years, and people would just think it's all in their head, just making it up. Doctors can't diagnose it. No one wants to listen to you, and they just leave you there in pain. And the solution they tried to give her was like amphetamines, dose her up with speed, that'll fix her energy. It's just crap.
Yeah, the drugs the doctors gave me, I just, I only lasted 3 months on them, and I had kidney pains, and I was just losing myself, and I just thought I can't do this anymore, so I just stopped taking them, and just used alternative methods, and I found that was slow but steady, and the road to recovery began, and it's been a long, hard slog, but much better now.
Yeah, and would you say the secret ingredient was Cynthia?
Love, baby. Yeah, it was really quite amazing because I knew my beloved was coming into my life. I went celibate 6 years because I knew I had to wait for my beloved, and I knew she was coming into my life. I just knew it, and it's interesting because we used to visit each other in like an astral etheric sort of levels, which was really quite fascinating. And when we met each other, we knew straight away. Yeah, it was quite fascinating.
Yeah, I've purposely left out questions relating to your experiences with interdimensionals and extraterrestrial beings. But I think one day we sat down and worked out that you've had hundreds, and we estimated, I think, 800 different interactions with these beings over your life.
Yeah, I would say probably beyond that. Yeah, I'd say beyond that.
Wow.
Throughout my life, yeah.
Yeah, we'll do a separate show on those experiences, and I think a lot of them have already been described in many of the interviews that you've done over the last few years.
Well, I've gone into some of them, and there's some I won't go into because of the detail. It's just too personal and too gruesome, and I won't go there. There's things that I've seen that happen behind the scenes in this world that are just so disgusting. What certain things are going on behind this world, and I've also seen some majestic and beautiful things that are going on behind the scenes in this world. So I've experienced both spectrums. It's really been an incredible life that I've had, and that's why I've come forward, because one day it's like, why am I having these experiences? Why is this happening to me? Why me? Why isn't my mate having it? Why is the guy down the road having these experiences? Why is it me? And then I came to realise that there was a purpose for them, and that's so I could share my wisdom with my human family.
And here we are. There's many different paths we can take right here at this stage on our first show, but maybe we should just kind of sum up the introduction by talking about you and I, because I'm sure there's a few people going, "Who the hell is this Jason guy?" Yeah,
well, I want to ask you a question, mate. Because who the bleep are you to be, hanging out with me? So how did you come about crossing paths with me? Like, what was it? How did you find out about me?
The first time I heard you was Kerry Cassidy's initial interview, I think in September 2010. Don't quote me on the month. And I had gone through my own journey through life. I've had an amazing array of experiences on different continents, from the jungles of Papua New Guinea to faith healers over in Brazil. And on a journey mainly trying to get my mother well. And I've been asking the big questions that you specialise in, George, for a long, long time. And every time I think I find something, you get to a point and you go, that's not it. And it's been rather frustrating. And it's funny that at the end of like PhD level research into, let's call it conspiracy theories. We know most of them are conspiracy facts, but at that time it was conspiracy theories, and you get caught up in that area. And I have some academic ability. I do have 2 science degrees, and I did start a PhD, so I know how to research. I'm published in the Medical Journal of Australia, and I've started 2 startup companies that are multi-million-dollar successful businesses. So I've got a little bit of nous on what goes on in the world.
So let me just interject there. So if you're some sort of corporate guy, okay.
Let's call me an entrepreneur. I don't really like being called a corporate guy because I'm more of an entrepreneur, a guy who likes to do things a little bit differently and a bit better, hopefully.
So you in this for the money?
I've never been motivated by money. It's a question I get asked a lot, and despite my wealth now, and I am considerably wealthy, there's no doubt about that. I've got the fancy house and the fancy car, and it's only recently I bought the fancy car. It's only because I deserved it after all these years. But what motivated me was actually, if we go right back, it's been my love for Mother Earth. If you want to know my true motivation, my true intent is Mother Earth.
So let's go back.
Maroubra Beach, back when I was a kid, was most the polluted, disgusting places on this planet. It was just atrocious.
And why was that, Joe? You tell people why that was.
Sydney had raw sewage going to treatment plants, and at best we're getting primary level treatment. Now, sewage treatment plants should have at least a tertiary level treatment. So primary treatment is pretty much screening. So they put up kind of like bars, like a mesh, and they trap all the gory stuff you find in sewage. You know what you put in the toilet. All those things you put in the toilet end up somewhere. And they go through these pipes. They end up in a sewage treatment plant, and they are discharged into the ocean. Now, back then, that was just raw sewage, primary treated sewage going out. And Maroubra Beach has one of the best surfing breaks in Sydney. There are a lot of good surfing breaks, but Maroubra has some terrific breaks, especially when the sandbanks are well established. And I remember going down as a teenager, young teenager, and it was one of those glorious days. The sun was coming up. There was about a 3-4 foot swell, offshore winds, and you're just going, my God, how fantastic is this? And because it's offshore wind, you can't smell anything, right? Because the wind's behind your back as you're looking at the surf.
Yep.
So as you paddle out, and as soon as you get out there, it stunk. But worse, there were turds floating past, condoms, tampons. It was just horrific.
That's disgusting. That really is just so...
People have no idea what Sydney Beach is. Well,
used to be.
People of our vintage do. But the 20, 30-year-olds these days just don't appreciate how bad it was. And especially those closest to the treatment plants. Malabar treatment plant was only a beach or 2 around the corner. So Maroubra Beach was quite close to the treatment plant. And I sat there on my board with a friend, and we just said, we've got to do something about this. This is just not on. Now, we're kids. We're 15, maybe 16, and we did. We did.
So you went home, right? And you were really upset. Because I remember you telling me this story on a couple of occasions, and it's very heartfelt, and you were really absolutely distraught's not the word, but you were
pissed off.
Oh.
That's why it's rated M, folks. Sorry about that one.
And you went home to your mum?
I did, and just said,
and
this
you
is
were
just
angry,
not on.
weren't you? Yeah. But this is the key moment. Your mum turned around to you and said,
do something about it.
So what are you going to do about it? That's what she said to you. So what are you going to do about it? And that just hit you, didn't it? Right in that moment.
It did.
So you trudged off to university?
I did. I basically focused my life. We actually started what became Stop the Ocean Pollution. We had no idea what we were doing. And it was eventually taken over by someone from Greenpeace and another lady called Sharon Beder, who's now, I think, a lecturer at Wollongong University. And they did a tremendous job. They knew what they were doing. We pulled out of that organisation, and it went on to be quite a big advocate group. But I thought this, and I was wrong, but at the time I knew you couldn't change things from the outside and influence government or the system. So I said, I'm going to go to uni, I'm going to learn everything about water quality, and I'm going to get a job, and I'm going to change it from the inside. And that's what I did. I ended up graduating with an applied science degree in environmental health, and went on to join the New South Wales Health Department as my first real job. I had other jobs as I was going through uni and bars and so forth, but that was my first real job, and I got into the water quality program, and then I went about doing things which I shouldn't really admit to, but I will. I don't think I can get sued these days. But I used to be able to get the results to a radio announcer before they were published, and they were never published to the real world. It was just internally. And he would get on his surf report on a local radio program, very popular radio program, and tell everyone how bad the beaches were. And that, I never got caught for doing that. I'll probably get busted now, but it doesn't matter. And and that helped a lot. That really helped a lot. And then I'd go to the public hearings, because now everyone's got the shit. So everyone's complaining, we've got to fix it. And I'd go to the public hearings, and I'd stand up and ask a question. And because I knew so much about the whole issue, and I'm an inner circle guy, and I'd ask the questions in front of these government bureaucrats, these senior government bureaucrats, and they would go action. They were just completely white. And now the audience would clap and cheer. Yeah, answer that one, Yeah, so I think shit stirring was something I learned pretty early on.
And then there was a big one too, because you managed to discover what was causing lead poisoning in children. Yeah,
it's not technically true. I think people in the know always knew, but would never admit it. So when I was in the health department, I kind of did the beach pollution. We got the sewage treatment plants and everything got half fixed. Of course, we're a very stupid society when we put all these nutrients on Australian land, which is very weathered, it's very old and hasn't got a lot of nutrients, and we strip it off, and then we flush it down the toilet and put it in the ocean. Now, that's really stupid, but we still do that, unfortunately. We don't recycle the nutrients and put them back on the land where they belong. But we did remove the contamination from where people swim, and that was a big victory. But, yeah, I wanted to leave the health department after that, because I just, the problem is I worked too hard. And everyone get upset.
Did the right things, you asked the right questions, and you got change happening for the better. And that's not allowed in places like that, because the status quo needs to be maintained to hold the public in a particular state of being. And you discovering that lead in the paint in the public schools was causing lead poisoning in children, and it wasn't so much the petrol, that it was really the paint in schools, and bringing that to attention of the authorities, that was a major one.
Now, that really pissed them off.
That really, that was a lot. You had threats to your life. You had all sorts of things going on there, didn't you?
Yeah, that was pretty intense. Again, it was just like, I don't know, it's like some fish swimming around sharks and trying to dodge getting eaten. But it was pretty intense, and so I just didn't understand. But I just want to make one point.
Yeah, go on.
About the lead stuff is what really upset me. It was the property guys, right? If you really, everyone thought it was the lead industry or it's the paint industry. Or it's, I don't think it was them. I don't know who it was who was causing me most of the grief, but I got a sense it was the property boys, because they didn't want to address lead, because it would add so much more to the renovations and making things were cleaned up properly and all the dust was removed so the kids wouldn't get poisoned. So here are people putting their bloody property values and their budgets ahead of their own kids' well-being, not just other kids' well-being. It was just unbelievable. And that's what upset me most about that whole thing. And yeah, after that made the front page of the Sydney Morning Herald and was on Four Corners and the 7:30 report, yeah, it was time for me to pack up and leave then, because that was just too much for them to allow me to stay, even though they could never sack me because I did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wanted people to, this was good because people need to understand who Jason is, and also to understand that you actually did it tough growing up in the streets, and had to deal with certain gangs and what have you. So you've done it tough, and you've also, at one stage, you were going okay in your career and with your finances, and then you went through a period of having lost absolutely everything because you were basically career assassinated because of these dealings of exposing what was going on within certain government departments. Am I correct in saying that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think this is actually a really important point. What you're saying is true. There were outside influences doing their best to ensure I wasn't successful. There's no doubt about that. But to me, it was my own sabotaging that was the problem.
Very, very well said.
I had these belief systems about money, and I struggled. I never really made it at all, George, in the early days. I struggled. And it was only through the backing of my mother, who got divorced from my father, and she allowed me to get a mortgage on her property, and I had all but maxed it out. I was $380,000 into a $400,000 overdraft, and I was about to lose my mother's house. And that was when I said, what am I doing here? I must be doing something wrong. And that's when I went searching. And the search was inward. It wasn't external. And it didn't take me long to realise that it was my belief systems around money. And we may even do a show on money if people want to hear a super woo episode. This is just normal woo. It's not super woo. And once you understand money and the belief systems around it, you can change everything. Everything. Because I was doing nothing more than what I was doing earlier. All I did was change my belief systems about money. I thought you had to be an arsehole, I thought you had to be a crook to have money. And that was totally incorrect. That was just a belief system that I was brought up with because of some, unsavoury circumstances in my youth. And it's just not true. And there's lots of other belief systems about money, negative belief systems that hold people back. And that's all I ever changed. And once I changed that, things just turned around. And it's been dramatic over the last decade or so, what I've been able to achieve with a new belief system about money. And this may be a nice segue, George, to talk about some of it's going to be in the grill session, but a lot of people think, okay, you've got a bit of publicity now, George, you did the 2011 tour, you've been successful on the alternative media circuit, and you're just writing a book because it's about the money.
Yeah, it's all quite sad, isn't it, that people are viewing it from that perspective. Here we are putting everything we have into writing a book that's going to put a perspective out there in the public domain that is not out there. And if it is, it's all fragmented. Comments from really, really well-versed people in the big picture of life have said that there isn't a book out there that encapsulates the whole thing in one place like you have. You just put all the pieces of the puzzle together. And it's really, really important for people to have that larger perspective, that greater perspective. Now, no one has to accept it. And so it's not, this book is not written with the view just to making money. I mean, that is just ridiculous. It needs to be a balanced approach. So we are looking at creating an abundance for ourselves so we can pay our electricity bills, so we can pay my kids' school fees, so we can, put petrol in the car to drive to the supermarket to buy the groceries. I mean, we're real people and we're living in this reality, and we need to continue on with that. So people will have all sorts of ideas. Their paranoid minds will come into play. I know that from personal experience, the way I used to view people when I was in the poverty mindset. And I was living well below the poverty line in this country for well on 12 years, and it was very, very tough. I had to borrow money to buy food to eat at times, so I know what that's like, and it is you get into this mindset where you become incredibly paranoid and judgmental upon others, and you view it through the lenses of the poverty mindset. And so the way you see things and the way you see people, your vision is skewed. You're not seeing straight. And really, what it does is it's an excuse for your crap to come out, and that outward expression of the judgment is your own inner pain coming out. And that's what I went through. And I see it now for what it was. So another thing is to know that you're worthy of having good things in your life. And so this is a life's lesson that I had to go through, and there will be those out there who will want to try and brand that sort of judgment onto us for writing this book. And that's to be expected, because this book is so potent. I mean potent. You just got to read it, and you will read for yourself. You will experience for yourself the potency of the content. And, if no one wants to speak up against it, then I'd be concerned. If no one wants to throw any mud, then I'd be concerned. But there's going to be plenty. There's going to. They've already started. They've already started, and let them expose their inner pain, because the more they persecute, the more they ridicule, the more they condemn, and the more they judge, then the more we get to see what's really going on inside of them.
Yeah, well said. This may be a good segue for our shameless plug for the book. We'll take a short break and be back to talk a little bit more about how we met and a bit of our adventure together. And after that, we'll have the grill session.
A lot of people looking forward to this grill session, Jay. Yep. Okay. No, you're not going to go easy, mate. So, hang on, folks, because we are realists, and he's not going to take it easy on me, I guarantee you. Who are we? Where do we come from? What are we doing here? And where are we headed? The challenge for me was to take the most complicated concepts of life, the attempt at answering the 4 primordial questions of life, and write it in the most simplistic way that everybody who reads it can understand it. The time has come for us to once again be free and sovereign. But in order to be free and sovereign, we must first break through the programs and belief systems that control us. The question that you now need to ask yourself is, to what extent am I immersed into these programs and belief systems? I have no doubt that some will find this book challenging, and for others, it will be incredibly liberating. The knowledge contained within this book cracks the code that is enslaving humanity. Ask yourself, what is the supreme cosmic deception imposing itself upon our humanity? Discover the origins of an energy that is weaving through our central nervous system and is known in every culture. Could this energy possibly be the most cunning element to the fragmentation, manipulation, deception, and control of humanity? What if the chakra system is a highly sophisticated energetic program overlay and interface? And what if there was a biological implant hidden in plain sight, posing as an endocrine gland? Rediscover hidden knowledge, who made religion, and what is the food of the gods. As confronting as all this may sound, the reality is the truth is inside of everybody. We all have it. The veil is now lifting, so stay true to your sovereign spirit, because the true knowledge of life is rising to the surface from deep within you. Rediscover the simplicity of the pathway to your heart, where the true knowledge of life resides, and you will remember everything. Our Universal Journey is a book that helps people to understand that the time of the great change is upon us, and is the outcome for those who embarked on a journey eons ago. All who have chosen to be here at this time are about to experience a transformation of a magnitude that few on earth can currently comprehend. It is the transformation of our Divine Mother Earth and the birthing of her humanity into beings of light. This book helps you to remember how powerful you are, because it is time to once again be eternal and infinite. It is time to be infinite power, infinite wisdom, and infinite love. This is our universal journey.
To purchase the ebook now or to secure your pre-launch copy of the book, visit ouruniversaljourney.com. That's ouruniversaljourney.com.
Okay, everybody, welcome back from an shameless in-house promotion. We're definitely entitled to be doing that. This is our show, but we will not be advertising. We will not have paid commercials from outside the station. So these are segments that will go right through. Therefore, this is the way we get into the nitty-gritty. And speaking of getting into the nitty-gritty, my co-host Jason has taken it upon himself to play the devil's advocate, which he does very, very well, I might add, and grill me in certain issues. So he's perused the internet and seen what people are saying about me out there, and people have lots of questions, and Jason will now be the mouthpiece and the voice for those people to help get to the nitty-gritty of some of them questions. So go for it, mate, and I'm still going to love you after the end of it too.
Right, are you ready? Gloves are off.
Gloves are off. Bing, bing.
Well, we've just been through money and how you're not motivated by money to write the book. But there is so many allegations out there, George. I mean, if you go to Google and type your name in, first of all, I think there's like 30 pages, and there must be 15 or 20 links on every page. So there's hundreds and hundreds of links referencing your material. But one of the most popular, I think it's in the top 4 or 5, is the reptilian video.
Ah.
Right,
yes.
Here we have a video which is showing you shapeshift. It's got fingernails coming out your fingers and all this weird stuff happening on with your face. And to me, it's a bit of a laugh. But to a lot of others, they really just go, look, he's reptilian. You can't believe a word he says. He's full of shit. He's just a reptilian. Do you want to go through how that took place? Because I think we know exactly where they got the footage from an earlier interview. What was that interview and how long ago was that?
Oh, that was, I think it was a couple of years ago now, and pretty close to it. When we first moved here, and we had a satellite internet connection, because that's all we could have we can get at the time. And it was really, really slow. And I was being interviewed by Dina over in England there, and it was all pixelated, constantly pixelated. And what somebody took it upon and felt compelled to take it upon themselves to insert certain pixels to make it look as though I'm shape-shifting. And they did a pretty good job. It's not too bad, but when you just zoom in a little bit, you'll see for yourself what they've done. It's no biggie. But it's amazing how shallow people are and how much they're falling for it, because I'm no reptilian, more reptilian than you are, Jay, and everybody who's listening to this podcast, I'm no more reptilian than you are. We've all got reptilian in us, every single one of us, and I think it's just a it's part of the, I would say, the conspiratorial drama. It's the vortex. It's the conspiracy realm is a huge drama vortex, and it can easily suck people in. And I was sucked into that paradigm for a while, and I'm glad I worked my way out of it, because it's really dark and it can really suck a lot of people in. So be careful what you choose to accept. Sure, there's reptilians. Sure, all have aspects of us that is reptilian. And sure, there's some unsavoury cousins doing some very unsavoury things to us. But,
Yep, we all have that reptilian part in our brain. And if anyone's interested, they can go to the website, the new website address, ourjourneyhome.com.au, link through to the free videos, and there are hours, hundreds of hours of free video. But the ones at the very bottom, done in August 2010 with Dina, that's where the original footage is taken from. You can have a look at that, and you can run it side by side with this reptilian version, and you can clearly see it's been made up. But what amazes me is this person's gone to extraordinary lengths to make this video. Like, it's a really good job. Like, he spent a lot of time doing it, and that just amazes me that someone actually could be bothered making up this fictitious lies about.
Well, it's kind of a bit of a, I feel a bit honoured that someone would go to such lengths. It's really a compliment, because what it shows is that we must be doing something right for people to need to go those sorts of lengths. And back then they knew, because you got to understand all the interactions I've had behind the scenes with ruling elite families, and I know I just slipped a big thing there, but they're not the kind of interactions that you would like to think. And also the Vatican and reptilian races and what have you. I've had to deal with this stuff behind the scenes in ways that people just can't understand, and it's just so easy for people to try and judge and criticise and condemn. I mean, it's easy to do that. Anyone can do that. Any monkey can beat on a monkey. So it really is important for people to maybe grow up a little bit and look at life in a little bit of a much grander perspective than what they're currently doing.
So that was just like an easy lead-in. Let's talk about the GFL.
Yeah.
Weren't you a GFL boy? Weren't you one of those guys being groomed to be the GFL leader of Australia?
Yeah, I was a pioneer boy. I was one of the pioneer boys. Chakra boys, pioneer boys. Yeah, I was. You see, the trip that I took in 2003 up through the universe was so substantial, and breaking through, because I broke through the cosmic matrix to take that journey. And because I did, when I came back, I had that energetic signature, so they targeted me, and they repeatedly abducted me, screened my memory, retrieved knowledge from me, and just tried to stop me. And if they couldn't stop me, they knew they couldn't stop me because of my soul journey, but they knew that they could at least try and control me and use me to their advantage, which is what they did. Sure, there was some shame and embarrassment. It took me a while to work through it, because my ego really struggled with that. But I'm good with it now. I'm peace with it now. And, basically I was doing the best I could at the time, without realising I was under such great influences. And it served a really good purpose, because I got to change things from the inside out. I was one of them, and got to see it for what it was, and got to understand it really, really well. So I'm really quite grateful for those experiences, and it seems like it's helped a lot of people. I mean, the emails that we have received from people who, all the time while they were involved in all this angel stuff and meditations and ascended masters and GFL and all this, they always knew something wasn't quite right about it, but they couldn't, because they didn't have any other point of reference. They thought it was just them, there was something wrong with them or whatever. And they came to realise that, hang on a minute, when they heard my material, it just like the light bulb switched on, and it completely transformed their life. So we've had a lot of wonderful emails from people that are incredibly grateful for the point of reference that we've given them. Yeah, because it matched with the way they feel in their hearts.
you still influenced by the GFL?
How can I answer that? I would have to say, in the way of promoting their propaganda, no. Are they still influencing me in a negative way, trying to stop me and trying to impede me? I would probably have to say yes, because there are times when I know they've had their way with me. Yep.
So they haven't got some implant or some way to manipulate the message you're presenting and put a twist on it, so you're actually leading people literally down the wrong path into these portals that take them into some weird place?
No, I wouldn't have put it that way. No, these doorways are not, that I've spoken of, are not what people think. No, I literally do mean a doorway in the sense of, firstly, it's an internal one, and I've certainly been experiencing that of late, and so have you, and so have a lot of people. And there's a lot of whingers and whiners out there, and that are ready. They're like cats, they're just waiting to pounce, and they want to blame, they want to curse and persecute, and it's just venting, really. It's just, it's all just venting. That's for them. It's their inner pain coming out. It's a wonderful thing. It's served people so wonderfully, this prediction thing, because I think this is what you're alluding to. Is that right?
I'm getting to that.
Oh, okay. I jumped the gun, did I?
No, but let's go straight there. So
Yep.
The only influence you've got from the GFL currently is negative. Them trying to stop you or impede you, influence you in a way that doesn't allow the message of self-empowerment to come through as well as it should. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And also in some meetings and deliberations that are still having to go on behind the scenes, they're trying to justify their actions, and I'm just not going to wear it. They can try and justify it as much as they like, but in the role that I'm playing behind the scenes, I'm not going to wear it.
Okay.
I'm not going to put up with it any longer. Neither are you guys. If you were to see yourselves and the work you do behind the scenes, you are not wearing it either. We're kind of over the passive-aggressive programs as well as the in-your-face negative ones. The passive-aggressive ones are more sleazy and sly behind the scenes.
They're worse.
They're worse. They are.
But I'm still in devil advocate mode here, so don't throw me off. All right, the biggie. I think it's the biggest one.
Yeah, come on, go hard, mate. Yeah, go hard.
And it's fairly serious because people take your message literally.
Yeah.
They hang on every word that you say. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying people actually do this. I've heard families changing their direction in their lives because of what you've been saying. And it relates principally to predictions you've made that haven't come true. And you're not alone there. I think everyone does it. But you've been so forthright. You've been so convincing that certain things were going to happen. I think you believe things were going to start to really happen in October last year and progress quite intensely into the new year. Here we are in July, almost July, and things haven't spilled out in the public arena. I'm unaware of anyone going through any fifth dimensional gateway or doorway. What do you got to say about those predictions?
First of all, I made them. They were heartfelt, and I made them with the best to my understanding of life that I knew at the time. They how can I find the words to express it? They definitely were not made with the intent to mislead people. They were absolutely made with the heartfelt understanding of what I would say it's my ego at the time. My earthly personality really, really struggled to make sense of all the knowledge I was having access to. My relationship with my mother planet and the way I was interpreting what she was sharing with me, and some it's kind of still stands because the doorways that we've been experiencing have been internal ones, just not external ones. There's no doubt that so many people I speak to are accessing incredible amounts of knowledge and wisdom and a much greater sense of themselves internally since last October. It has been a incredible shift, and even March this year we went through massive changes. Even you've got to admit to that, what we experienced in March this year was, just absolutely phenomenal. And it's put us in a different place. We are accessing fifth dimensional energies internally far more often than what we were before. We are seeing through all the lies and the deception far clearer, the clarity we have, the understanding we have. It is really, really easy to see even the most sophisticated passive-aggressive programs, which is something you and I have had to deal with of late, haven't we? Energies, really clever passive-aggressive energies that try to infiltrate our inner sanctum. And we finally got to realise what was going on. And so that's going off on a tangent now, but I just want people to understand that the doorways are first and foremost internal, and your outer world will change after your inner world changes. And there's a lot of people that just are not doing any of the inner work, and they're just expecting things to change on the outside. And they're the ones who are whinging and whining and judging and complaining. And the other thing I want to raise with this issue is the whole time I have always said, make sure you don't take my word for it, that you go within your own heart and you discern within your own heart. So if my heart felt that at the time and someone resonated with that and felt compelled to change their life due to that, then they're in absolutely no position to be pointing the finger and blaming me, because that's just a cop-out. So they've got to be strong enough to say that they felt it in their heart as well. So there must have been some truth on some level of their heart that they felt and viewed things in a similar perspective to the way I did at the time and the way I shared it at the time. So I just want to make that point clear, that it's such a cheap cop-out for people to continue just to blame me for the way they felt. It's their feelings, their emotions, their thoughts, and their understandings. I'm helping to provide the information, but they're in no position to blame me for whatever happens in their lives. That's their life is their responsibility. Their thoughts are their responsibility, and their understandings are their responsibility. So it's time to grow up. I take responsibility for my life and the things that I say. Absolutely. That's why I'm here, and I'm getting grilled by you.
Yeah. So you admit you got it all wrong on those dates?
No, I did not get it all wrong. What I will say, what still stands for me, is my relationship with this mother planet still stands very strongly. It's improved even more so, and the more my relationship with this planet is substantiated, the more I'm steadfast in the understanding that she is not going to continue to have this vibrational pattern of consumerism, and that includes the natural environment of everything killing everything in order to survive. That this cannot continue, and it will not continue. And if you were a being and you had this vibrational pattern on you, and you wore this vibrational pattern for long enough, don't you think it gets to a point in your journey that you go, well, I've had enough now and I'm going to change? And all the indigenous tribes are telling us how Mother Earth is trying to communicate with everybody, but are you listening? She's saying, I'm changing, I'm changing, I'm changing. And she is changing, and I'm changing with her. I've changed. And so have you. We have changed dramatically in the last 12 months. So for people out there to say that nothing has changed and this is all just crap, then they are totally missing it. They are not changing with the planet and experiencing the changes and the internal doorways and experiencing the high dimensions like we are, and actually experiencing how things are changing around the world around us. If they're waiting for an ET to land on the White House lawn, then sure, in that respect, the prediction that I made is not true in a sense to this day. And also I'll say if I got something wrong, it could be the timing. The timing of it could be wrong. I would still stand by the fact that the cycle finishes on the first equinox of 2013. That I won't budge from that. And but whether the crust implodes prior to that moment, then the timing of that for me is what I will say I didn't interpret properly. And but at some stage that is going to happen. When? I'm not really sure. But the 3D environment, maybe it's not even going to happen in that way. Maybe it's going to metamorphosize in more of an energetic way, and that physical process won't be necessary. So these are the even though I spoke of them in such a convincing way, to use your words, I spoke from the heart, and it was my ego at the time trying to deal with the magnitude of the scope of change that's coming. And it is. The change is going to be more profound than people realise. But maybe I got some of the detail wrong. But it's definitely coming. It's already started happening.
So just to summarise that, the end of the equinox on the 20 or 21st of March 2013 is still hard set. That's the date. That's what your harmonic equations came up with. You're standing by it.
That's when the cycle ends. Now, what's going to happen around that time, I'm not going to go there anymore. I just know that expect change, dramatic changes. That's what I'll say.
So within a couple of months of that time, a couple of years?
I'll just say it's going to be sooner rather than later. And you can interpret that how you like. People have to start feeling this for themselves. People need to start communicating with Mother Earth and get it from themselves and stop just relying on me to give it to them. I'm here to inform people. I'm not here to save people. So they've got to stop wanting me to do it for them, and they've got to start taking responsibility for their lives and take into consideration what I have to say. It's very valued wisdom and very valued information, but it's very, very important that they don't take it as the be-all and end-all. It's what's in their heart is what needs to be the be-all and end-all for them.
All right. I don't want to start a conversation on free will. However, why do you think the greater aspects of George has allowed little George, 3D George, to make those mistakes?
Yeah, I had to really dig deep within myself because, again, with the GFL thing, it's almost like a bit of the boy who cried wolf, I suppose. That's some of the cliches or a bit of wisdom that have come to me through this whole process. I would ask everybody who has considered this issue with predictions is, how has it served you? Because I know it's served me in a particular way. So how has it served you? Why did I do this? The greater me now, I'm speaking on behalf of the greater aspects of my being. Why did I go through this process, and why have I chosen to serve you in this way? And the understanding I have come is it has to do with attachments. If you knew the world was coming to an end, how would you deal with your attachment to this reality, to attachment to your material possessions, the attachment to your careers, your attachment to your friends, and your whole existence here? So when someone actually goes through the process of the crisis, in a way of knowing this reality's got to change and we've got to walk away from it one day soon, which we all are experiencing, then how is it serving you in the form of attachment and non-attachment?
Well said. Final question. Where do you get your information from?
My experiences my heart, my wisdom, my soul. And the interpretations through the process of the ego, of the earthly personality of George trying to interpret the magnitude of these vast concepts of life, and the magnitude of the energy involved behind the knowledge. Knowledge is power, and when you come across this knowledge, it really affects you. It affects you greatly. That's why people go through a crisis in their life. They have breakdowns. That's because they're going to new levels of wisdom, of knowledge and understanding. If people aren't prepared to go through that, they will just judge, they will persecute. And it's easy to tell the ones that are doing that, because they're not prepared to go through it themselves, so they have to blame others. And then one day they go through it themselves, and then they realise for themselves. And until you walk in those shoes and you walk the path, you won't really know.
And that's all I have, and I'll just add one thing to the experience. I can't prove or disprove anything George has said, anything he shares, but I can go through lots of experiences, personal experiences that I've had while I've been associated with George and helping him out. I'm not going to go into details here because we're out of time, but I can assure you that when you really get this information, you shatter your beliefs, you break all those programs that have been controlling you, your family, our society, you're a different person and you can never be the same again. That's one reason I'm here on this program with helping George spread the message more globally and more to mainstream than just the fringes, is because you've got to hear it. You owe it to yourself to hear it. And you can either listen to the new audiobook, it'll be out later this year. You can read the ebooks now. The hard copy will be out probably after the Olympics, mid to late August. Or you can just listen to his other videos and his other free interviews. But you owe it to yourself just to listen and really go through it. So with that, George, I want to finish with the universal model. There may be some new people that have never heard your message or your teachings, and there has been some changes for those who have seen the universal model published earlier. So I thought, without going into great details, because I know you could talk for a day on this universal model, because it really is about our journey home, if you just want to just do the universal journey for dummies, the 101 version, basic version, just so we can end on a positive note, because it's been a bit somber, this interview.
It has. Well, the other point I want to make is I'm really tired. It's not like have a rest for a couple of hours and then come back bouncy tired. I'm deeply tired. And it's going to take me a while to recover. Writing this book has, that's another reason why I haven't done any interviews, and I haven't appeared in shows. I haven't been ringing friends. So, I've got personal friends that I haven't seen for months, personal friends that I'm not replying to their emails. I'm not taking their calls. I needed space because I needed to put everything I had into this book because it demanded so much. It was such a cathartic process, unbelievable. And I originally just thought it was going to be 120 pages at the most, or even just an 80-page book, And this book has it took on a life of its own, and it took Cynthia and I on an incredible journey. And this is knowledge that basically me writing this book with a level of knowledge that is being shared in this book. I will say that this is really why I came to this planet. It feels like I've accomplished my mission, if you want to put it that way, for want of a better term. My life's purpose, because when you read it, you're going to realise the magnitude of what's being said in those pages. And I'm not just talking it up. it's what we are saying here is backed up with substance, and it asks so much of us, and we are tired. We are truly, deeply tired, and people can hear it, people can feel it. I'm also more centered and more at peace. So there's that energy as well. So don't think it's all just somber. There's also a really great feeling of peace and of relief, and I feel very relieved. It's been an incredible journey, and I'm really I'm proud of you, Jay, because people just don't realise the black comedy that's taken place behind the scenes, how we've been blocked every step of the way, and we've had to jump through so many hoops and overcome so many challenges just to get little things done. And so all the beings that have helped us behind the scenes, interdimensional beings, all the ones that have tried to stop us, we thank them for the challenge, and all the ones that have helped us, we thank them for their support. And only those who have taken this journey with us really know how full on it's been. So yeah, I do sound a bit flat, and I'm very tired, and so is Cynthia, and so is Jason. But it's all right. We'll bounce back soon, mate. I'm just gonna have a bit of a break, and we're gonna bounce back pretty soon. Don't you worry about that. We're on our way back.
We'll be fine. Yeah, we are exhausted, folks. Drained, completely drained, but complete. It's been an incredible experience, and now the fun begins. We get to talk about it, we get to promote it, we get to, be controversial if we need to be, and take criticisms and just explore it to the nth degree. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I feel at peace now, because I feel that the information we're sharing is at a really good place. It's on a good level. Yeah. Yeah,
and I think everyone should know there's 60 or 61 images throughout the book. It's in full colour. Some of the drawings, they're actually hand drawings by George. They've been improved a little by an artist, but they are black and white drawings of the details of this universe. Are just incredible, especially the new ones about the Saturn, Moon, chakra system, the Kundalini energy. It just goes on and on. The great detail in the book is it's going to upset a lot of people.
That's going to shock a lot of people. That's going to be, people are just going to say, George, you're just a disinformation agent. That's just lies. That's this. That, all of that's going to happen. And you watch their cosmic egos react. You watch. It's going to happen. Because, I went through a lot of pain myself to break through the cosmic matrix. And I'll tell you what, it's a good matrix. This is very clever. We got the best. We asked for the best, and we got the best. And to break through this deception, you got to do some work within yourself, and you got to let go of your belief systems if you want to break through the cosmic matrix. Because people think the matrix is just earthly, and once you get past the ruling elite and their earthly matrix, or just they think it's a solar thing. You just got to get past the moon matrix, for example, or the Saturn matrix. It's way bigger than that. And there's some really clever entities out there that have created incredible cosmic software programs. And they are fantastic. They are pure genius. And there are so many people that are caught up in these programs. I used to be. And I'm just so glad I just feel so free. And that's the thing about this book. It will, like you say, Jay, it'll make your head hurt. But it's going to make your heart sing. And it does, for people, the more belief system you have that you're immersed in, depends how deep you are entrenched and immersed into these belief systems, be it earthly, be it cosmic in origin. To break through those can be painful. In fact, chances are it will be, because I don't know anyone. I don't know anyone who's gone through this process and hasn't experienced a level of discomfort. It's in varying degrees to people, but the point here we're really trying to make is once you break through the inner peace and the relief and the joy and the clarity is beyond words. It feels fantastic. I know there's times we've been somber today and we talked about the hardships of writing the book, blah, 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 blah. But you really got to realise the amount of peace, the amount of balance and the sense of relief one feels when you break through all these belief systems, and that includes the cosmic ones. Then what way you feel internally is so different. You change. You change so profoundly. And it's an incredible, incredible feeling.
I think that's a great way to end the first show. What have we got? Look forward to. Excuse me. What have we got to look forward to? We haven't lined up the interview for the next show, but it will be someone significant and interesting, and we'll go into their wisdom and knowledge and share a bit of ours. Some other cool stuff that's coming up. There has been a documentary made on George. This is a documentary made by Sean. Sean is a creative director for music television, and kind of like me and many of you listening, just resonated so much with George's message, and it just kind of triggered not just a remembrance of how significant we are and how powerful we are, but it gives you something within. There is a drive that you just say, I've got to do something with this. I've got to put my mark on it any way I can just to help it get it out. Because it's not about George, it's not about me, it's not about Sean, it's not even about you. It's about all of us. It's about the message and allowing people to remember, to trigger that remembrance. And George just has this gift. I don't know if it's the harmonics in his voice, and to someone who's remembered more, the veil is lifted, the curtain has moved a little bit further across than some of us, including me, but we're all going to get there. And the good news is, even if we don't, then there'll be another time. So we're all on our own journey, and you don't have to listen to this show, you don't have to listen to George, you don't have to listen to anybody. You've got to listen to yourself. That's all you really have
we
to
respect everybody's journey. Our love for everyone is unconditional, and wherever your intuitive heart guides you to go, then that's great for you. And we want people to do that. It's just nice to be able to share this perspective. At least now this perspective is going to be out there in the public arena, and people do have this point of reference. So then they're better informed to guide themselves in which direction they wish to take.
And we'll get Sean on next week, maybe not next week, the next show, to talk about the documentary. We have seen the first draft, and I don't cry that easy. And I was in tears. I literally was in tears. I was moved so much. It's incredible. He's done a great job, and we're now busily trying to round up the $40,000 to $50,000 we need to add the animations, just so we can make it TV, documentary quality, because I think it's that special.
Well, mate, I really feel that Terence, the Aboriginal elder that we spent time with, I mean, there's some knowledge that gets shared on. Incredible knowledge. To hear this knowledge from an Aboriginal elder is quite amazing. To hear stuff said from people like myself is one thing, but to hear it from a tribal elder, it's really something special. He's such a beautiful man, and when you see us standing there, we don't mention it in the doco, but we're standing in front of paintings that are 38,000 years old, and we didn't get to see because of flooding. The roads were cut due to flooding. There are other carvings and paintings that have been dated back to over 90,000 years old by the Australian Aboriginal people. So I think that has a lot to say for the conventional version of what science feels has occurred on this planet.
Great. Well, till next time. Got some final words, George?
The final words. I just want to thank everybody who has stayed through the program and listened to it through the end. And, we weren't going to be jumping through hoops and blowing whistles and bells, and we're just a couple of guys. Hey, there's days where you don't feel so good, and there's days when we don't feel so good. And we still did this show regardless of the way we feel. And, we're a little bit flat, but there's still great wisdom being shared regardless of the whistles and the bells. So, look forward to our next show. We don't know when it's going to be. We don't know exactly, but we will inform you. We'll let you know.
Thank you. See you later.
See you, folks. Shine on.
For information on upcoming episodes, go to superwooradio.com. Thank you for choosing to listen, as we say from a much greater perspective. It was a choice that you were always going to make. Until next time, let go, flow in your river of life, and simply be.